Hi there, welcome to Lockdown Curiosity Session 2. We're glad you're able to join us, and we hope that you're also able to come along to the Zoom discussion that will immediately follow this premiered video. More details below. We hope as well that you will benefit as you hear Marlene this week sharing from her personal experience on the question, what difference does having faith make today?
Hello everyone, and welcome to Lockdown Curiosity, God spotting in a pandemic. What difference does having faith make today? In today's world, we all exercise faith, whether we realize it or not. Every time we get on a bus, we trust the driver. Every time we go to the doctor, we trust him to diagnose our ailments and cure us. Every time we confide in a friend, we trust they'll keep it to themselves. The biggest step of faith I ever took, and am still taking, is to believe there's a God and to trust in Him. This faith has given me a new relationship, a relationship with God that has changed and continues to change my life and my attitude to death. Many people have commented that this pandemic has made them more aware of their own mortality. Hardly surprising, when to date over 50,000 people have died of COVID-19, and that's just in our country. One of my first contemporaries to die was Billy, Deputy Prison Governor at the Maze Prison in Northern Ireland, and one of my husband's closest friends. He was in his 30s when he was shot by the IRA in front of his wife and wee daughter. Billy knew that he could be murdered, and in the letter he left for his family, he reassured them of his faith, of his conviction that death is not the end, that there's life after death. On the morning of the murder, a friend on her way to Belfast felt led to call on Beryl. She found Beryl, Billy's wife, totally composed, speaking to the police. The presence of God in the room was palpable, she said. That presence was evident also to the police officers, one of whom later put his trust in God. But even more amazing was the fact that Billy's wife showed no anger or bitterness. She publicly forgave his killers. At that time, we knew only that Billy had died. Unlike Billy and his wife, who'd faced the possibility and had talked to each other and to God about it, we were unprepared. Forgiveness does not come naturally. We hid our anger, which amounted to hatred really, under a desire that justice would be done to those who had committed the crime. There's no peace for those who can't or won't forgive. We knew no peace until we asked God for grace to forgive as we have been forgiven, to love as we are loved. It took God's help for us to forgive. We were learning to put our faith in God. When faith is exercised, it grows stronger. When we put our trust in God, we begin to experience His presence in our lives, and we become more and more confident that God is real. A lifetime's experience of trusting God has convinced me that He is love and that nothing can separate me from His love. Neither life nor death, neither fears for today nor worries about tomorrow, not even COVID-19, can separate me from God's love. I am more and more convinced that death is not the end. I take Jesus at his word when he says, I am the resurrection and the life. He who believes in me will live even after dying. Having faith today and every day has also given me a new family at Kidlington Baptist Church. This faith family has given my husband Paul and me encouragement, care, and challenge for 40 years. Paul and I had met only 2 people in the village when we moved to Kidlington. One of them was Pam, a member at Kidlington Baptist Church. One morning, Paul had gone off to work in his new job, and I was struggling at home with a migraine headache and looking after 2 young children when the phone rang. It was Pam. I just felt I should phone you. Are you all right? I've got a migraine, I blurted out. It seemed like only minutes later when Pam arrived at the door. She packed me off to lie down in a darkened room while she looked after the children. After that, when she invited us to visit KBC, we could hardly say no. But something even stranger happened. Sometime later, Pam invited me to go with her to a faith healing meeting organised by a church in Oxford. It wasn't my sort of thing. She urged me to go to the front for my debilitating headaches, for prayer. And when I said I didn't feel happy doing that, she responded very matter-of-factly, "Never mind, I'll just pray for you here," which she did. Months passed before I registered that while I still on occasions had the visual disturbance that always preceded one of my migraines, I'd not actually had the headache. From that day to this, I've never had a migraine. But every time I get the visual disturbance, I thank God and Pam for my healing. I often wonder why God acts the way he does. He's endlessly surprising. The difference faith has made in my life isn't just for me. It isn't just a subjective experience. Faith in God makes a real, noticeable difference to other people too. Even people who don't believe in God can see the effect faith has on people and in the world. The journalist, Matthew Paris, a self-professed atheist, was brought up in Africa. He writes, "I've become convinced of the enormous contribution that Christian evangelism makes in Africa, sharply distinct from the work of secular NGOs, government projects, and international aid efforts. These alone will not do. In Africa, Christianity changes people's hearts. It brings a spiritual transformation. The rebirth is real. The change is good. This change," says Paris, "has embarrassed my belief that there is no God." But the biggest surprise is probably the new world faith has opened up for me. Through Paul's work, which has given us friends all over the world, through KBC, which is increasingly multi-ethnic, through living for a time in the States and in New Zealand, we have had the privilege and joy of interacting with God's worldwide family. With this privilege comes the increasing sense of responsibility for the world and the people in it. Faith is what motivates Christians to support the work of evangelism and social action, not just in Africa, but all over the world. People of faith are motivated to work in organisations like Tear Fund, to fight against injustice and persecution by contributing to the work of Open Doors or Amnesty International, to work to save our beautiful planet from the ravages of exploitation and climate change, to run food banks, to speak truth to power, to be a voice for all who are oppressed. Jesus said that faith as small as a grain of mustard seed can move mountains, mountains of selfishness, greed, hatred, inequality, and injustice. Through faith, we can move those mountains and bring in God's kingdom. New relationship, new life, new family, new world. What difference does having faith make? All the difference in the world.